Hi, this is Jonna with Bee's Knees, and today I'm going to show you how to make these adorable birthday number candy holders. And as an added bonus, I've included a way to easily turn them with just one cut into a weighted balloon holder, if you prefer that. So let's go ahead and get started. So you'll have downloaded the file onto your computer, and if you need help with that, I'll link a video below. So come over here to your upload button and select upload. Select upload image and browse out to where you saved it on your computer and go ahead and select it. Hit the continue button, hit the upload button, and the file is going to come in onto your design space. Now, I'm working with a number 16. You could be working with a totally different number, and that is fine. The process is exactly the same, even if it's a different number. So we're going to start by coming up here to the ungroup button, and we're going to ungroup it to release all of these. Now, you have to make a couple decisions at the beginning. One, so this little one with the tab on it is what you would use for the balloon weight, and I cut that out of acetate sheets. So you have to decide if you're not going to use it as a balloon weight, then go ahead and delete it off. You don't need it. But if you are, leave it on, and I'm going to leave it on just so I can show you all the steps in case you do want to make that. And then down here I have some little bits of decor. So if you want to go ahead and zhuzh it up a little bit with a flower or a star, then you can do that. I'm going to use the flower, so I'm just going to go ahead and delete off the star. So now all the other pieces you will need, and I'm just going to walk you through them very quickly so you know what they're used for. So everything this teal color here and these little washers and paper chad, those are all for the bottom opening mechanism. Then also what goes on the bottom, but more in a decorative nature, are these pieces. So it goes the bottom, and then you have this piece, and then this piece goes on top of it. And then you have your top pieces. This is the piece that you cut out of acetate that is your balloon holder. If you're using it, it will be glued onto the front of this one. If you're not using it and it's just a candy holder, then ignore it. And so this is the back layer, the middle layer, and the front layer. And then your number, your 16 or your number, that gets glued onto the front of this one. So it's not very complicated at all, and it is easy to put together. So I'm going to walk you through it. What we do want to do is we want to make sure all of your light colors are going to cut out together. So all of these are the same color of teal. So my bottom pieces are all going to cut out together, which is great. But I'm also going to incorporate some of that bottom cardstock into the design that sits on top of my dome. So I'm going to do that by taking the second layer here, and I'm going to change it to the same color that the bottom piece is. So it kind of pulls it together. And then I'm using rose gold foil. So that's what this color is. And I'm also going to make my very last, except for the acetate, but the last layer, I'm going to make that one gold too. And this is just a matter of preference. So whatever makes sense to you and looks great to you, go ahead and do that. And then these I'm going to make out of glitter. So those are great. So basically what I'm doing is I'm getting them all on the right mats. So these colors are going to cut out on a mat. And these colors are going to cut out on a mat. And these colors are going to cut out on a mat. And actually, I'm going to cut these out in pink, so I'm not even changing them to pink. But if it's easier for you, go ahead and change them to the color of cardstock you want to print them out on. So once you get that all set up, go ahead and hit the Make button. And you'll probably want to save your project. And select on a mat, unless you're using Smart Materials. And then what we're going to do, you can see my mats here, as we are going to cut them out one by one. And I like to use 8.5 by 11 cardstock, those big packs you get at Michael's of the Recollections, because they are much more affordable. So I'm going to come here and I'm going to change my material size to letter just to make sure everything fits and goes where it's supposed to. Okay, and these all should fit on that letter size. So I'm printing them out on letter, but they obviously fit on letter, so you can change them if you want to, or you can leave them. I usually just leave them and just put my paper on the correct way. So again, I said I'm going to cut out some glitter, some foil, and some regular cardstock. So when I hit continue, I'll just want to make sure I'm selecting the correct material for whichever mat I'm cutting. I usually use medium cardstock. I use glitter cardstock, and I use that both for the glitter and the foil. It works on my foil. And Cricut actually has an acetate setting, so that's under custom or just browse materials for acetate. Okay, we have all of our pieces cut out. So besides our pieces, we are gonna need some glue. I love Bearly Art Glue. You're gonna need your dome, your half dome. You're gonna need a hot glue gun, and of course some candy to go in your dome. And some balloons to tie to it if you're using the balloon portion. So first let's go ahead and work on putting our bottom opening mechanism together, which is very simple, but let me get the rest of the pieces cleared out of the way. Okay, these are our pieces we need for the bottom. And what we're gonna start with is this little paper, I call it my paper brad, you know, those little metal brads that you can use. So this is what that is supposed to be. So you don't have to go out and buy one. So what you're gonna do first is you're gonna take this and you're gonna just take it and you're gonna bend it up toward the center. So you don't have to put a hard crease in it or anything, but just bend it up toward the center. And then you're gonna take this, which I call my paper washer, because that'll help it spin, and you're gonna put it right over it. And then you're gonna take this little spinny dial part and you're gonna take your paper brad and you're gonna put it through. So there you go. That's what it looks like from the back. And you're gonna take your other paper washer. You're just gonna squeeze those tabs together and you're gonna put it over. So we have a lot of nice room for it to spin right there. So then next, you'll want to grab this part and you're going to get your glue out, and with your little brad parallel to this line, you're going to go ahead and you're going to put a drop of glue there and a drop of glue there. Make sure it doesn't go over because you don't want to glue anything else on. Then you're going to take this and you're going to line up these half circles and you're going to glue it down, glue your paper brad down, just like that. I'm going to hold it there and let it dry. So then that's what the other side looks like. It's just glued down onto there. We're gonna put that aside. Now I'm gonna take these two little thin guys and I'm gonna flip them over and I'm gonna glue them on the back. And flip him over and just glue him to the one side of my bottom piece. Just make sure he doesn't hang over, so when you flip it over you don't see it. So this is the bottom piece with the little half circle cut out of it. And then I'm going to take my other guy and I'm going to do the same thing with him. Then I'm going to put him right on top of his brother. What I'm doing here is just creating a little space so my wheel spins nicely. Okay, now I'm gonna pull this guy back. And I'm gonna take him and I'm gonna glue on top of that last guy that we just glued to him. I'm gonna line up those little half moons. And I'm gonna press it down. And that is my quick, easy opening mechanism. And now you can see it slides very nicely. You just put your fingernail in these notches and spin it around, and you can open and close to dump your candy out. So then what we're gonna do next is we're gonna take this and make sure it's flipped over. So where you can see the dial, that dial is actually on the bottom. So let's put that on the bottom where it goes. Then we're gonna take our next layer, we're gonna line it up here, and we're just going to take a pencil and draw around it. And that's our outline for where our glue goes. So you can also use hot glue for this step if you prefer, but I personally love using my Barely Art glue because one, it holds very well with just a little bit of glue, and two, it dries completely clear so you don't see it. And sometimes when you use hot glue, you have like these mounds of glue that you can still see. So I prefer this. And here's my little spinny wheel. It doesn't really matter, but what I like to do is this tab. I like to take that tab and put it kind of, that's my back where you can kind of see that notch in the spinny wheel. So I like to put it there, but it doesn't really matter. You can put it anywhere you want. So, but you do need to put it on that outline. So we're gonna move that aside and let that dry. And while we're letting that dry, I am going to take my glue and I'm going to take this piece and glue it on top of this piece. So then you want to get your adhesive foam squares, and this is important because you need to use that so you can get up over this bump. Plus it's measured to use these little ones. They're not super thick. There's a link below if you want to use the exact same kind. But what you want to do is you want to go ahead and put them on the back here. And I just put this one on this because I wasn't exactly sure where my little hook is, so I didn't want to mess up and put it on top of the hook. So then just go ahead and press it down. And we have the bottom part done. Okay, we have all of our pieces that go on the top of our design. And this goes in the front. And then we have first layer, second layer, and third layer. And if you have trouble figuring out which is which, each one gets a little bit thicker. So it's easy to tell by the spaces here, they eventually go away. Now this is the acetate part. So if you're using this as a balloon holder, then you will actually put it on top of your third layer. When I first made these, I was putting it on the back, and I made one for my daughter, and she told me she did not like it because you could see the glue on the back and it looked messy. So based on super critical feedback from my 8-year-old, I have changed my assembly process, and I have to give her kudos because I do think it does make it better, because then you do not see the glue on the back. So first, let's get started by gluing the 16 on layer 1. Perfect, now let's set that aside to dry. And because I am going to make this showing you guys with the balloon holder, the next step would be to glue it on to the front of layer 3. Now, if you're not making it as a balloon holder and it's strictly a candy holder, then just go ahead and skip this step. And it's made to fit exactly on top of layer 3 with no overlap. I'm trying to keep the glue on the inside so you don't see it on the outside where it does overlap. And next what we want to do is we want to take layer 2 and attach it to layer 3. Now I've perfected, or I feel like I have perfected, the method for doing this. And what you'll need is you'll need these adhesive foam squares, and you have to use the adhesive foam squares because you're going to make a little gap here eventually, which is where your hot glue is going to go. It's going to give you that grip you need to sit it on top of your candy holder. The easy part is we're going to put some of these. You're always going to put one right here in the middle of every single layer. And depending on what number you're doing, you might have a little gap there. So you might have to cut it and make it smaller, cut the foam square and make it smaller, which is totally fine. Just put these wherever they fit based on what number you're working on. Okay, now let's leave the cover up of the sticky part on for now. I'm going to show you why in a second. So now what we want to do is we're going to take layer 2, we're going to flip it upside down, and I'm going to put the foam squares on this. And why am I putting it here instead of here? Because this is thinner, so I want to make sure when I put them together you can't see this. So if I put them behind there and I know they're not showing when I put them on, I know they're not going to show. So I'm sure you'll need your scissors and you'll need to cut these in half to do that. So we'll always want to put one right here at the bottom on each side. And then get one more. Cut it again. And put it up here near the top of the arch. Okay, and we can go ahead and we can take the coverings off of this. Okay, now remember, we still have our coverings on because the most important part of this top layer is you always want to line up this arc. If you get that, then the rest of it will line up as well. And you want to make sure that they're even and they're flat against this because that's going against your candy dome. So you have to make it all one smooth layer to get it to adhere correctly. So let's go ahead and line up this down here and this down here. And if you get that lined up right, then the rest of the overlap here is going to line up just right. So that's good. So I'm going to press that together. And now remember, I still have the covering on. And why did I leave the covering on? I did that because when I was lining this up down here, I didn't want it to stick up here when I wasn't ready for it to be lined up yet. So I just like to move slow and meticulously. Now, you're probably better at this than I am, so you can do it whatever way you want. But for somebody that's not super great at this stuff, I find that way works best for me. Just make sure you can bend this forward, but make sure you don't crease it when you're pushing it forward to get these tabs off. Okay, those tabs are off. And now I have that layer done. And now I'm going to do the same exact thing with this layer. And I'm going to put my tabs here. Remember, we need an adhesive foam square right here to catch that hot glue. I'm going to put them here, and then I'm going to flip this over, put one here, and you're probably going to have to cut your foam squares into thirds because we're getting pretty skinny there. Make your star or your flower. I'm making my flower, so I'm just going to bend the leaves up a little bit, give it a little bit of curl. And then you can also bend these little fuzzy white pieces, and they might cut out kind of wonky, but it's okay because they are so little that it doesn't really matter, and they're supposed to look fuzzy. So then just take glue and glue it together. And now we want to take this, and all we're going to do is we're going to glue this onto the dome. And if you can see right here, I like to put it right there and right there. It'll fit there, it'll fit wherever you want. I just kind of like to put it on the diagonal like that. So wherever you want to put it, you'll want to put the little squirt right here. And then just some dabs. You don't really need the dabs on the feet because it should line up perfectly, but just to make it a little nice and secure. And then just push it right down and hold it on. And then I'm going to glue my little flower or your star or whatever. If you have a theme birthday party, let's say it's unicorns, then just glue a little unicorn right there. And we are done, so don't forget to go ahead and open it and fill it with candy. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe so you don't miss a tutorial.